Okay, nice.
Okay. We're working on and how are you?
You know where everything is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I've been. I'm starting to hear.
Hi, everybody. Eve is just starting a little late, but we're really late. It's my fault, and I apologize. I wasn't feeling so well and got to the center a little late. But here we go. She just got started.
And then we're gonna go. There's a lot more to delve into, and this is my favorite. Honestly, figuring out what our mission is part of our mission. So we are now doing our Yi'ud by talking about Yi'ud, okay? And as life changes, and it's the only thing that is inevitable that's happening to us, is change is always happening to us, at us, around us. Everything is change, everything is growth. So we too have to always reevaluate and start, like we need to create ourselves again and again and again. And what does that remind you of? Because we're all women here. It's like the moon that waxes and wanes. It's never in a place of being stagnant. It's always in a place of changing, right? Whether it's getting bigger or smaller. And women are compared to the moon, how we also have this power of what we say in Hebrew, hitchadshut, which is renewal, okay? So that is a feminine power because we are compared to the moon. And our lives are just like that. It's always in flux. It's always changing. So it's not like you figure it out and then you're good for the rest of your life. No, you're always having to go back. And this time of year, the month of Elul that leads up to the high holidays has the power of very extreme power of renewal, so much so that one moment of this month of Elul is compared to like months of growth in the rest of the year. So it's like a supercharged month. And Rabbi Niven calls this month International Deep Thinking Month. Okay, so this is it. We are here, we are now, and there's a lot of power in the air. So a bit of a review from last week. We first started speaking about our soul, okay? Because if we're going to figure out our soul's mission, we have to understand that there's this world that we're so used to, and then there's the world of souls, okay? So imagine God has a heavenly throne up. I mean, it's I don't know what imagery you have in your mind, but imagine there's a throne. Under the throne there's a chest, and all the souls are kept there. And as a body, as a baby is being born into the world, the soul, I mean, there's lots more about the soul, but it's actually split in two. Half the soul goes into that body and half the soul goes into another person. That's why you have a soulmate. We spoke a little bit about that last week, how sometimes our soulmates or our soul sisters are not necessarily our family, but there's a certain bond or a connection, and that is a real thing. It doesn't only have to be family. There are many levels. We have a besheret, a destined one as a partner or a spouse. Yes, that is true. And as Sue's husband keeps reminding me, we have 7 real besherets. Yes, it's true. So there's lots of levels of your besherets out there. And then we also have friends, and you're his number one besheret, he keeps saying. It's so cute. So we spoke a little bit about souls, because we have to understand we're talking about a whole different realm right now. Okay, we're talking about the world of souls. And one of the quotes that I read you is that this is the quote from the Slonimer Rebbe. This is from, who knows, maybe 100 years ago. He said that if someone does someone else's purpose in life, it's actually considered idol worship, avodah zara. Okay, because that service that is zar, strange to you. You're not meant to do someone else's mission. You need to figure out what your mission is, because every soul is a one-time phenomenon, never was before and never will be again. And then if you remember the beautiful teaching that I taught you last week, how many souls, how many primal souls were there originally when God created the world? 600,000. Adam, that first man that God created, had 600 souls within him. This is a Kabbalistic idea, hard to understand. And how many letters are there in a Sefer Torah? 600,000. And we learned that if one letter is missing, the whole Torah is not kosher. It's invalid. You cannot use it, you cannot read from it. So too, if one soul is missing from the world, let's zoom in on the Jewish people, okay? If one soul in our nation, because every nation has their own mission and destiny, but if one part is missing, we're all incomplete. So that's a very powerful teaching about the souls. And then we took it one step further, and I taught you guys two big words. One, we already said, is yi'ud, which is your soul's purpose. And the other one, the duality of this whole idea, is that there's also a tikkun. A tikkun is a fixing, that everyone, what their challenge is. And it's hard to figure that out because we only see challenges in other people. We blind ourselves to our flaws sometimes. So we might need some help to figure out what that challenge is that keeps coming back again and again and again, consistently throughout your life. And I'm going to add another layer to that we're going to talk about today. If you would uproot that challenge, like uproot it with the roots, would everything around you, or everything around that challenge change? If you would uproot that challenge, would other things also stop being so challenging in your life? That is another way, we'll discuss further, how to figure out what your challenge is. It has to have those two components. One, it consistently comes again and again, meaning here I am, Erev Rosh Hashanah, New Year's resolutions. Oh my gosh, I'm choosing the same resolution that I did last year and the year before and the year before. This happens to everyone. In fact, I looked up the statistic. Do you remember last week, we spoke about New Year's resolutions and how they never build more lockers, even though memberships surge. So 98% of people make New Year's resolutions. And let me just see, I wrote down what percent keeps them. It's very, it's a pretty pathetic, where did I put that? Okay, New Year's statistics. By January 15th, 98 of New Year's resolutions are out the window. Wow. Okay, so that is the statistic. So we're in good company. It's not only us. Okay, so that's another thing that we're going to talk about, figuring out what our tikkun is, or fixing, because we really need to be honest. No one can tell us what it is. I mean, people could help you, but you need to own it. Okay, so okay, so we spoke about yi'ud and tikkun and our purpose, and I guess the most important question that we keep asking ourselves, as everything is always changing, is what does God want from me right now? The right now is so key, okay? Because at every moment things are changing. So it's like, I'm in a moment of struggle. What does God want from me right now? Okay, don't lean on what was last year. Be in the moment, be in the present. That is the gift. Okay, any questions until now? We spoke about a few other things last week. We spoke about finding a yi'ud moment in your life, right? Julie shared so beautifully, and someone else shared. Was it? Well, you shared a little bit about Julie, about, right, her beautiful moment. But someone else shared a moment. Are you here? Was it? No? Okay, so I can't remember. What was it? Oh, yes. That moment, going back to when her father told her that it's all going to be okay. And how when she, like, and even though her father's no longer alive, when she closes her eyes and thinks of a moment that I said has a halo over it, it's so shining, it's so beautiful, it's just so, you just keep going to that place where you feel so embraced. Where are you? So that was something that we spoke about, finding a moment where time stands still. It's like you're in the zone. So that's really important. We also spoke about, I don't know if we started speaking about this, but I'd like everyone to start trying to find a yi'ud statement, like a statement for your life, okay? And this takes a little bit of tweaking. It's literally, it could be like 5 words, right? Like what, well, Deborah, you spoke a little bit about like what you think your yi'ud is. Like you want to bring change, you want to change the whole world through media, through influencers, all of that. I'm wondering if you could get that into like an elevator pitch, like this is, hi, I'm Deborah, and I'm going to change the world through Jewish, values or whatever it is. Like to kind of put a few words to it. My dear friend and mentor, Eliza Bulow, you guys know Eliza, she's been here and I talk about her all the time. So she actually created an organization a couple of years ago. It's called CORE, and I was right next to her creating it with her for many years. And she, if you know Eliza, she's brilliant. She's a genius. She's so like, so creating the elevator pitch with her we would joke about it. I said, but that's an elevator pitch if you're going up to like the top of the Empire State Building, Eliza. Like it was like, 17 lines long and we couldn't sum it down because she's so brilliant. And so really just getting a statement, like I am here to empower others. I am here to build a strong, healthy family. I am here to blah, 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 fill in the blank. So that is something that you need to do on your own. You need to come up with a statement. Really hard, okay? But easy. Does anyone have one off the, like, does anyone know what they're here for? Yes. Yes. The fixing. Yeah.
Does your family have to work purpose? It's totally separate. I'm just
Totally separate.
totally
Separate. It could be that like you feel like your purpose is in one direction and then the tikkun is pulling you away from it, but you keep coming back like every year, like this is what I want to do. So I'll give you an example. Okay. Like this is, I actually showed up on time today. If anyone noticed, I was 5 minutes early. I actually pulled into the parking lot 10 minutes early. But as you may notice, I'm very often running late, right? Not because I disrespect, I actually really value people and value people's time. But part of my yi'ud and part of my tikkun and everything is that I want to do so much that I'm not always realistic with time. I can get in one more, I'll just drop off one thing of soup on my way and I'll be here in 2 minutes. And, but then there's traffic and then there's parking issues and whatever. So that might take me away from my goal, right? I might need to honestly look at the fact that often I could show up late and that comes across, not very respectful. And I need to uproot that. I need to make sure that there's no ego in it. There's nothing that's negative in that. Like when people show up late, it often means that they don't care, right? So I honestly, and I do care, and I know that that's not the case. But A, it could come across one way, and B, there could be something unhealthy in every issue that we just need to honestly look at. So, you want to do so good and something keeps tripping you up. So it does work hands in hand, but it goes against each other. Okay. But your yi'ud and your tikkun could also have nothing to do with each other. Okay. And we could talk personal examples afterwards, and I'm happy to help in any way. Okay. So, and then do you remember last week, we spoke about the billionaire question that I put out there. If you had all the time in the world and all the money, what would you do? 6 hours a day and $1 billion. What are you going to do with your time? And that also will help you put you in the direction of wow, this is what my passion is all about. Okay. So that's summed up last week, and we're going to start new information. So I think I'm going to start with this story. So this story, everyone okay over here? Hey guys. This story is about, okay, I don't know if it's a true story. I heard this, I saw this online, and it's a profound story. I'll make sure to tell my teens about it. Okay, so basically this guy, full of himself, shows up for a job interview. He recently graduated college. He got his resume together. It's all shiny and exciting. Right? I mean, Dana, your oldest son just got his first job. So they're like a little bit like, I'm not saying your son full of himself, but like you feel like you got the world in the palm of your hand. So this guy shows up like all that in a bag of chips. Okay. He's like, I got this. He makes it through the first interview, makes it through the second interview. He is like, it's in the bag. Okay. Shows up for the third interview. It's like, it's a done deal. Like, I got the job, right? I've come this far. And he walks in, and the secretary at the front desk says, we're just running, I'm so sorry, we're running a few minutes late. Will you just take a seat in the boardroom down the hall, and we'll come get you in a few minutes. No problem. He goes in, puts his feet up on a chair. He's relaxing, checking his text messages. And someone walks in, this guy looks like an intern wearing a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to bother you. I need to move these chairs. We're having a meeting down the hall. I just need to move all these chairs out. No problem. Help yourself. I'm busy. Do your thing. Okay. And he keeps coming in, schlepping chairs until there are only 2 chairs left in the room. The one that he's sitting on and the one that his feet are on. And this guy says to him, thank you so much. We won't be needing your service. And he says, what do you mean? I'm here for an interview. I haven't been interviewed yet. He said, yes, you were. That was the CEO of the company.
Wow.
And nowadays CEOs are like really young, and casual Friday is like every day. So he might not have looked like the CEO, but he didn't treat him respectfully. And the moral of the story is, and the moral of that story really is, that when you're looking for a job, when you're looking to hire someone, you're not hiring a suit. You're not hiring a resume, right? You're hiring a person, a human being. And when we really ask ourselves, who am I? It's when no one is looking. It's when the cameras are off and no one will see, no one will know. Who are you then? Are you a generous person? Are you someone that wants to go above and beyond? That was the test of the interview. We know that your credentials are great. We know that your resume is shining. You did a great job. Anyone can put together a beautiful resume. It doesn't mean anything. We want to see who you are, okay? So that's when we're looking at this, it's an honest looking at ourselves of who am I, right? And I had this experience. I mean, I know that this is rolling and I have to be really careful with details, but okay, I'll try to change the details up a little bit. So as you guys know, so our oldest daughter, she's 19 and a half years old. In our world, that means you're starting like shidduch dating, right? You're starting, right? As you said, you told your daughter, yeah, it was so cute. I met Deborah and her daughter, and I said, oh, my daughter's the same age as you. And Deborah says to her daughter, yeah, but she's gonna get married real soon. And your daughter said, how long does she know the guy? I'm like, she doesn't know the guy. Like, she's never met him before. We don't know, like, we have no, I'm like, she's never spoken to a guy in her life. Yeah, that was funny. So we had this experience. Okay, this is so crazy, but like, don't tell anyone this. Like, okay, shh. I'm totally like making it like I'm changing the details. So someone told us this is great family, great guy. Okay, maybe check him out for your daughter. So of course, me being me, I like orchestrated a whole thing to meet the family. We had them over for a barbecue, and I was just checking out the guy, and I was so not impressed. Now, on paper, everything was like, I mean, top notch. Okay, seriously, top notch. Like, doesn't get better. Amazing family, amazing. Went to all the right schools and institutions. Like, literally A+ on the resume. But there was something that he said, like there were a couple of things that he said that I was just so not impressed about. And one of them was actually this, in this analogy, this example, the story about ethics. So I said to him, what are you doing this summer? And he was like, yeah, I got a job and whatever. He was like, telling, he wasn't excited about it, which was like X, like he wasn't like, he had no like excitement, passion for life. He was like, yeah, I mean, they're just paying me to drink coffee all day. And I was just like, no. Moving on. Anyway, so the crazy thing is, this guy is engaged now. He got engaged to the greatest girl, right? Because that's how it works. Because could be and I wish them the best of luck. I'm actually so relieved that we had a window into who this person was, because it wasn't for my daughter. I'm sure he's great. But there were things that I saw. So we want to see people in situations where they wouldn't necessarily be on their best. He didn't know that he was on a job interview, so to speak, because it was just a casual get together, right? So when he was sitting back, like, scrolling through his phone and being very aloof, like he didn't realize that his potential future parents-in-law were like watching him like a hawk, okay? So that, and it's actually interesting, our sages tell us, and we've spoken about this, let's say Purim time, that there's 3 things that could tell who a person really is. Do you guys remember this lesson? Okay, so there's 3 things. If you want to, this is our Chazal, our sages tell us. What? Okay, so good. So it says in Hebrew, Bekiso, Bekaso, Ubekoso. Kiso is his pocket, his generosity. Paula, yes, you got that one. Ding, ding, ding. Kiso, but you could tell about a person by how generous he is, how kind he is. Bekaaso, kaas is anger. Put them in a situation where not everything is perfect and see how they deal. Like, are they going to kick the dog that's nipping and being friendly at their feet? Or are they going to go down and pet it? Yes. Kiso kaso, his anger. Upekoso, his drinking. Get someone drunk, and then you see the real deal, who they are. And that's why I always teach that around Purim time, where there's an extra, tradition, custom to drink a little bit and to lose yourself. But that's when you could really see, right? You know that you've had many years as a Rebbitzin. I'm sure we could probably share lots of stories about crazy Purims and crazy drunks, right? But there's something that very often, not always, comes out that's just pure. Like their purity, their who they are. Like, and in this world, we're so inhibited all the time to be a certain way, to do a certain thing, to look a certain way. So many layers and boundaries that are covering our essence, that it's very rare that we could be real, that we could be authentic and genuine. Okay. So now, okay, let's go back. Let's go back here. So who are we when no one is looking? Okay, that's what we're trying to get out over here. Okay, so tags, okay? So tags. You know how clothing have tags? Like, and Marilyn, you're a clothing person. So you always, I'm sure you're very careful about what the tag says, like dry clean only, or, hang to dry, or don't, flat dry, or whatever, or cold wash only, whatever it is. Okay, so it makes it easier to take care of a garment when we have the clear instructions. Okay, so now God created the world, created all of us, wants us to know who we are and what our mission is, and yet we don't come with tags, right? There's no tag coming out of the tuchus of your baby that says socially, clunky, or right, or academic genius. And here you are trying to put this child in sports and spending so much money, and really there's a Nobel Prize award waiting for this child, or the opposite, someone that can't get it right but is going to win the Olympics in 2040. So imagine if we had that insight into our children and to everyone around us. Imagine everyone had a tag, like how we wear our labels on the outside now, like Louis Vuitton or Lululemon or whatever it is. Imagine if it was so clear to everyone what their purpose is. It would make it so much simpler, right? You wouldn't have to judge so much. You would just understand what everyone's going through. And in our system, and especially in the school system, it's like everyone's thrown into the same system. Everyone needs to spit back and regurgitate the same information on tests, but it doesn't work for everyone, right? Some kids are visual learners, some kids are hands-on learners, right? Not everyone has right brain or left brain. Like, it's just so different, right? We have lots of teachers here, right? You've got decades of like struggling with kids. Imagine if we knew. So the question is, how come we don't know? Why doesn't God tell us what our mission is? Wouldn't that make it so much easier? Okay. Okay, it would be boring. It would take away our free will. What else? It would be too easy. We wouldn't. Our mission is to figure out what we're doing here. Okay. So that anyone else? What? Pigeonholed. Okay, but we're pigeonholed in the other way now. We're pigeonholed as, oh, you're not academic, you're not this, you're not that. Like we're all pigeonholed anyways, right? So wouldn't it be easier? Because no one is gonna, if you just bought a house, right? Last year, I can't remember. So I'm sure you had workers, right? Would you hire a painter that doesn't paint well? Like he's just like, that's like just first-hand experience. So we won't say who that is. Okay, but you know what I mean? If you're gonna hire someone for a mission, you're gonna hire someone that's really good at that mission. Okay, so if we're here to figure ourselves out, what are the things that we need to know? And this is, if you have paper and notebook, if you want to write this down, I want you to make 3 circles that intersect in the middle. Okay, so kind of like a little diagram, one circle overlapping a little bit on the other circle, and the third circle overlaps in all of them. So there's a shared space in the middle. Okay, I want you to try this. Oh, okay, one circle, and then another circle that's overlapping in a little area, and then a third circle. So there's one shared, like, I don't know, what is it called? Is that like a Venn diagram? Okay, Venn diagram. Okay, so, okay, and while you're getting your circles on a paper, and I'm going to tell you what to put in those circles, I'm going to give you some of the reasons, really good reasons why we're not told our mission before. So you guys got them. So one of the reasons is that we as human beings want and need, we have a need to self-actualize. We have it, you know, like 2-year-olds, if anyone has like a 2-year-old grandchild, right? What's the 2-year-old thing? It's like, me do it, right? Even from a very young age, young human beings, right, that we're apprenticing in this world, they have this need, this desire to do it themselves. Okay, so that's one. We need to self-actualize. And a second reason is that when we're told what to do, it takes away our desire, right? And you think about, like, you know, you tell your kid, like, go clean your room. It could be that your kid was anyways going to organize their room. But the second you say it, they don't want to do it anymore because it's not their idea. Okay, so that's another thing. Like, if we were told, we wouldn't have the same desire, passion. Laura, you disagree? Tell me. No? Okay, you agree? Okay. And then the third reason, well, there are many reasons and you guys gave good ones, but another idea to think about is that life, and this sounds very cliche, but life is not about the destination. It's about the journey. So it's not about knowing and being there, then our lives would be over. Hashem gives us 120 years to develop ourselves and to figure ourselves out and to self-actualize. Not that, don't be afraid that if I figure it out early, my life is over, right? Then you have time to perfect it, right? God wants to give us long, beautiful lives of growth. But there's this element of, it's like you never get there. Don't think that you're ever getting there, right? We're working, we're on a journey, okay? That's what it's all about. It's about being in that space, okay? That journey, okay? So now back to the Venn diagram, okay? Venn diagram, there's gonna be 3 words. One word, I want you to write talents. Doesn't matter. Talents, okay? One word I want you to write love. And one word I want you to write paradise moment, okay? And that's what we spoke about last time, okay? So those are the 3 things. And there's gonna be a space, that little space where the 3 overlap, that is where the power lies, okay? So let's talk about the 3 of these, okay? So the first one, your talents, okay? So I want you to think, and you could write all alongside this, what you're naturally good at doing, right? What gifts you naturally have, okay? What you love doing, what you're good at doing. So some people are not so good at this or good at finding the good in them. Some people are not so good at finding the bad in them. You know, everyone's different. Some people run away from compliments. Some people, like I remember once going to a life coach, this is many, many, many years ago, and it was in Jerusalem, and she said, Okay, and it was like a class. So she said, everyone write down something that you're so good at doing or something you're so proud of yourself at. And in those earlier years when I was so struggling just to like get my kids to school on time and to have dinner on the table, I was so overwhelmed. I said, I really can't think of anything. And she said to me, and I was honest, I wasn't like looking for praise. I was just saying like, my life is such a mess. That's why I'm here. I'm a life coach right now. So she said, did you get your kids to school in the end? I said, yeah, I mean, they were a little late. Were they wearing clean clothes? Yes. Did they eat before they fell asleep tonight? Yes. They were so much good, but sometimes we don't see it. So I want you guys to think about what you're good at doing. Okay. Even if, like, for example, one of my gifts that I will hope, like, I know now it's a gift, but I didn't. I saw it as the opposite of the gift. I saw it as like, everyone finds it so annoying. So what is that? The gift of gab. Like the gift, like, put me in any situation and I will find something in common with the person in front of me. I'm so good at Jewish geography is my favorite hobby in the world. Like my kids were like on, where's, what's it called? Like the faces on the mountain. Mount Rushmore. Sorry, I'm Canadian. I don't know. It's like my first time there. And I'm there with my kids. And literally I'm making friends with these Mormons and we're like trying on each other's like headscarves and like we're like BFFs, right? It happens all the time. All of my airplane stories, right? Everyone that sits next to me, whether he's like a Palestinian or that Israeli guy that had the scrolls on my lap, we become best friends and we keep up. So that is my gift. But it's so hard that my whole life I never saw it as a gift. I saw it as what's the opposite of a gift? Like a pain, not a curse, but it was just like everyone's like, oh, mom is talking again. You met someone in line at the grocery store. My kids are like I was in DSW last week and I bumped into a woman that I haven't seen in like a month since we were in Israel together on that last trip in July. And I'm so excited to see her. And she's like, and these are your kids. And my 11-year-old son is like this, because he's like, and he looked like he had a tick. Like literally, I'm like, Shua, and he's like, like, so it seems like a pain for everyone else, but really in a social setting, to be able to connect to anyone and make people feel comfortable, it could be a gift. Okay, so I'm like gonna accept that as a gift. Right. So you have to honor who you are, because if you're an introvert, being in a social setting is like, it's like taking, every time you have to be with another person, it's like taking a coin out of your pocket and like, getting rid of it, right? You're like so depleted. Whereas if you're an extrovert, being with people is like oxygen. So you just need to know who you are and honor that. And then it's okay. You could find your gift. So one is talents, okay? To be honest and to be generous with yourself and write down all the talents you have, because chances are that if God gave you a talent, that is part and connected to your unique mission. God doesn't make mistakes. He didn't give you a gift if you weren't meant to utilize it in some meaningful way. So it's almost like a slap in the face of your creator to say, I'm not good at anything, when really clearly, I mean, be honest, you are good at a dozen or more things. And those things are so telling into who you are. Okay. So talents. Now let's go to love. Okay. What do you love to do? Because God wants us to love our lives. We are supposed to love our lives so much so that, by the way, this is actually supposed to be a course in Musar, so I'll stick in a little bit of Musar. So in one of the ancient Musar works, it's called the Mesilat Yesharim, the Path of the Just, 1,000-year-old text. It's brilliant, very, very deep. It starts off, the introduction says, what is life all about? And, there's lots of those, if you could get 1,000 answers about that, okay? Put 1,000 people in the room and ask them, everyone will have a different answer. You know how this genius writes off? What is our lives as Jews about? Why did God create us? You know what he writes? So no one here speaks Hebrew except for Hannah, who walked out. So, oh yeah, okay, fine, Penina. Okay, now I have to be really careful what I say. So I think, so correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But maybe you know these words. So it goes like this. the purpose of life is, I don't know how it starts. It's lahanot, wait, lihita'aneg el Hashem, to have pleasure from God. Hita'aneg, like oneg, like an oneg Shabbos, like a party, have pleasure, to rejoice with God, ulahanot miziv shchinato, and to enjoy his radiance and to just enjoy life. Literally, the beginning of the Mesilat Yesharim says the purpose of your life is to have pleasure. It goes on and on about pleasure, right? Our lives are supposed to be so magnificent. We are supposed to be living with so much vitality and clarity in our mission. If you don't know what you're doing here, you're not going to have that vitality. In fact, you're not even going to want to get out of bed in the morning, right? So we want to go all in with, wow, this makes so much sense. Even until 120 years old, we know what we're doing here because we keep reevaluating, right? Penina, you just moved to a new place, right? It's a new chapter for you. But as we always say here, we say we're green and growing and not brown and dying. Until 120, you should have vitality and be learning and coming together with friends and living life. Because we all know people that are alive, but they're not living, right? We want to be living, not only that our heart is beating, we want to be living that we have excitement about every day, about our mission. That's the biggest difference in the world, and not everyone has that, okay? That's what we're trying to do over here. Do you have a question? No? Okay. Okay, so pleasure, okay? So there's talents, there's what do I love doing? What does my heart sing? Like, when does my heart sing? When I'm doing it, okay? And then with the third one that we spoke about last week, having that moment in your life, okay? And talking a little bit more about that Yi'ud moment, or what did I just call it? I called it paradise moment, okay? It's the same thing. That moment that has a halo over it, that's just like, so you can't create those moments. They just happen. You can't anticipate them. They come out of the blue. It could just be a moment where you're just in your zone. Like for people that have young kids at home still, right, Marty? It's like you're sending your kids off to school and like your daughter like looks back at you and says like, I love you, mom. Or like something, or you're like so shocked, right? Like you just have this moment where you're like, oh, thank God, you know? It's not easy to raise these kids, but every now and then you just like, no, it's going to be okay. You know, like they say something, you're like, they get it, right? So that's kind of like a moment, and it usually catches you off guard. Did anyone have a paradise moment that they want to share? Last week I said I would share one of mine. If you guys want to hear one of my moments. Yeah, okay, I'll share mine. When I did this the first time, this is what came to me. With this kind of program, you have to, whatever comes to you is important. Like I tell people, don't overthink it. Okay, don't like, some people are very, you know, well, what is it? It can't be this. Maybe it's this. I don't know. I had this moment. I had that moment. I'm like, what came to you? Right? Like whatever comes to you, like, and write it down, you know, and just let it sit and think about it a little bit. So the moment that came to me for this Yi'ud moment, I did this probably close to, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. I was living in Portland and I took this course and I was very much going through a midlife crisis. So I was really trying to figure out what I'm doing and what is my purpose, and everything was changing around me. So my moment was actually, I was in a circle of women. So very similar to like how I love teaching in this circle. We're always like in a circle. And you guys know my obsession with circles, how everyone is equidistant from the middle, right? Because none of us are better, none of us are worse. We all learn from each other, right? You know all my mission guests about circles. I love dancing in circles, all that stuff. But I was in a circle and I was dancing, which, yeah, so it's very clear, like that is part of who I am. And it was in Israel, so another big part of me. And I was teaching. It was a real moment that happened when I was leading a trip. I've led 17 trips, like 14 or 15, going on 15 momentum trips, and then a few Poland, Israel trips, right? So on every trip, and there's like 17 of them already, there's always going to be dancing. I'm sorry, if you want to come with me to Morocco, just know we're going to be dancing. There's dancing, okay? If you want to be my friend, you need to get dancing. But you guys did great on this Soul Purpose Day. I'm so impressed. So it was in a circle, it was in Israel, it was with women, and it was dancing. And it was a moment that truly happened where I taught everyone the steps. The words were Am Yisrael Chai, you know that song, Am Yisrael Chai, which means the Jewish people will live on. Od Avinu Chai, our Father in heaven still lives on. I mean, I didn't realize that this was going to be my moment, but it was just this power moment where I closed my eyes and I said, thank you, Hashem. Like, thank you. Like, I'm all the things that I love in life, like being together and the power and the empowerment and the unity without uniformity. And it doesn't matter whose hand you're holding, and we're all together. And the words were so meaningful. And I'm like feeling my bubbies and my Zadis and my, all the generations in Israel. They would have given anything to come to Israel. My namesake never made it to Israel. They were Zionists. They were they were learning, the horrors and these words in their makeshift kibbutzes in Europe before they were murdered, right? And it was like all of that coming together. This is my yid. Okay, so it's very, very powerful. I'm not saying everyone needs to have such a, but it's interesting. I didn't know that was my yid, and it's not like I'm quitting my job and teaching Israeli dancing now. Like, I'm just saying, but that has a time and place that I could bring that in because there's power there. So it happens to be that when I was 18 years old and came to Israel for the first time, my first time to learn there, like that 10 months that turned into 12 years that my parents never forgave me for yet. So when I was in a girls' seminary and we had a lot of rules, a lot of rules. So obviously as Orthodox girls, we were not allowed to go mixed dancing, which we did break the rules quite often. I mean, there was, we did go to the pubs in Jerusalem sometimes. But I wasn't so driven to going to the pubs to go dance with the Russians. Like there was like this Russian pub that all the girls would go to. I wasn't going there at night, like sneaking out of the window like a lot of the girls. I was sneaking out and going to Tel Piod, which is another neighborhood, and dancing with it was like older, it was men and women, it was mostly women. And it was Israeli dancing on a hilltop in Jerusalem. And it was like, I don't even know how I got there and what I went by myself. I took 2 buses. It was 45 minutes on the buses. And here I am, like, what am I doing here? But I wanted to do Israeli dancing with Israelis. There was no peers. No one spoke a word of English. It was almost like, what am I doing here? But I didn't realize that there was something that was pulling me towards my yid, even from decades ago. Okay. So sometimes our calling calls us. Sometimes it's very clear. And sometimes it's not so clear, okay? And sometimes it takes decades to figure it out, okay? So love, talent, paradise moment. Notice the patterns, okay? There's patterns, okay? Notice, see what overlaps, because that space will tell you a lot. That space that's connected, all three. There's a lot of clues along the way, okay? So listen, because the world is talking to you, God is talking to you, things are happening that talk to your heart. That is talking to you. That is a gift for you. When you see something, it's for you. We don't notice everything, but if you notice something and it bothers you or it makes you feel excited, that's for you, okay? So to notice it, to listen, to look, and to be really aware. Those are some ways of really tapping into that middle zone. Okay, questions? Maybe I'll do a little bit more, but maybe we'll stop here. It looks like it's a lot of questions. No, it's not Yehud, it's Yehud. Well, in English, it's Y-E-U-D. So let me just, it's Yud. Maybe it's Ayin Vav Daled. And I'm not sure because it's not a Torah word. What's the word for destination? No, not Derech. I'm going to find out and I'll get it back to you. It's the root of the word for destination, okay? So it's the shoresh. It's the same shoresh and it's a modern word, okay? Yeah, it's with an ayin. Probably Yud Vav Ayin Dalet. Yehud, okay? Okay, so the next part of this is a big chunk, okay? The next part of this is really I'm delving into our personality types because that's so much fun. Whoever did Dressing Your Truth with me, that's like one way, and then it's like a really fun way of doing it. I'm going to take you guys through a different way of figuring out a very, very simple way. And what I'm going to teach you guys is actually it's the teaching of Rabbi Weinberg, Rav Noach Weinberg, the founder of Aish HaTorah, passed away about 10 years ago. So he had a very simple way of helping us understand ourselves and kind of honor who we are and our strengths. So I'm going to be doing that, but I think it'll take the most part of a class. So stay tuned. I think we'll start with it next time. Okay. If anyone has heard Lori Palatnik's Chaim Bracha Tov talk, so that's Lori Palatnik, who's our guest for Yom Kippur. Her and her husband. I hope everyone is going to join us to hear her. She's brilliant. She's actually one of the most powerful Jewish women in the world today. She was like literally she was voted one of the top most powerful women by Hadassah, by Wizo, by all the organizations. Unbelievable. And she actually, I'm making a plug for High Holidays, guys. Commercial break. Come join us for Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. Schedules are all coming out pretty soon. But just to let you guys know, it was like 2 or 3 years ago during COVID, Lori Palatnik was invited up to light the candle on Yom HaAtzmaut on behalf of the Ministry of Diaspora. It's one of the most prestigious things. Like there's Lori Palatnik, like the founder of Momentum. I mean, but she's a worldwide, incredibly powerful woman. So she gives this talk. It's taught by Rabbi Noach Weinberg. She really made it her own. I'm going to further make it my own and give it over to you. And I think we're going to start with that next week. Okay. So that's just one more way of honoring, and it's called Chaim Bracha Tov. But Sue, if you don't know it, don't look it up yet, because I want to give it over to you. And then we could go further into it. And why this is so important. So obviously we're really trying to figure ourselves out. But what it does, like some of the ramifications, the ripple effects of what happened when we figure ourselves out, is we're able to make space for other people that are not like us. So instead of it just kind of opens up many of the relationships in our life that we're not as judgmental because we can understand them. Because when we can honor ourselves and love ourselves, going back to the very first class we had in the series, I remember Adrian, we spoke about loving your fellow Jew, right? Like love your neighbor. That was like the first class. And then Adrian said, but first you have to love yourself. And I was like 100%. And it's like, it's not a given, but we need to start there. But the ramifications, the ripple effects of when we really know ourselves and love ourselves is that we could love other people. You cannot love another human being until you love yourself. And you cannot have a true relationship with your creator if you do not love yourself. Okay. So it always starts there. One more thing about knowing yourself. I mean, I don't know if this is such a good example, but every time it says in the Torah, and he knew Sarah, and he knew Rebecca, what does that really mean? Right? So they had sex. So why do we use those words, and he knew? To know, right? Like the deepest intimacy cannot happen unless you know. So really the word intimacy is a play on words. It's into me see. It's to see yourself, to know yourself. That's real intimacy, is when you could really be okay with yourself. You cannot be intimate with another human being if you're not okay with yourself. Like we all know as women, like, you feel like you ate a little too much and you're like, don't touch me, because we're not okay with ourselves. When we're okay with ourselves, that's when we can be fully there for another human being. Okay, so that's why in the Torah, and he knew, because it's so much deeper. It's like they really, they were okay with each other. They knew each other in their essence. That's where we're going. Okay, so we're going to end here. And if there's any questions, and then next week, we're going to start with Chaim Bracha Tov, which is a lot of fun. And then how many more weeks? I think we have 3 weeks until Rosh Hashanah. Is that true? Like 3 Tuesdays. Is that correct? Maybe 2? And when we finish the personalities, we're going to go a little deeper. 2 more? Only 2 more? Oh, wow. So how you guys doing with the 5-week, like who's here like so far? Yeah, like a few of you are still the 5-week challenge that I put out. Oh, okay, fine. That's so cute. It's okay. I'll take it. Okay, so questions, comments. Otherwise, you guys we're done for today. We do have challahs and soup stocked in the freezer. So if you know someone that is sick or could use a hug, you're welcome to take. We have bags over there, right near where Marnie's sitting, right in that closet. There's plastic bags, the colorful ones, and you could share it on behalf of L'chaim. And Julie, are there any? We have any announcements? We're really making a big push. If you haven't signed up for High Holidays, please do so. Even if you want to just come for Rosh Hashanah or just for Yom Kippur, you could do that. So there's 2 different options. And enjoy your notebooks for the newcomers. Actually, I want to get a picture with the newcomers. Could we do that? Whoever got a notebook, do you guys want to just could we do a quick picture? Oh, they're for newcomers. You've been coming for 20 years, Deborah. Isn't that gifts coming for everyone? Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Bye, guys. Bye, Joyce. Bye, Nadine. Bye, Lori.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.